Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Rabbi Charlie from the Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville. Thank you very much for coming out today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
First of all, let me say what an honor it is to be here once again on Election Day. It's such an important day in our democracy. As the Commissioner's Court opens, we ask God, whatever you conceive God to be, to open our hearts and minds to one another. In a time of division and mistrust, when party loyalty far too often means more than personal integrity or the needs of our people for both Democrats and Republicans, we pray that we can listen and hear the sincere plea of the just. In Jewish tradition, Hillel and Shammai, the two great schools of thought, disagreed about everything, but were seen as equally valid. But it was the school of Hillel that Jews continue to follow today due to their humility and careful consideration of opposing points of view. From that tradition, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah taught over 1,800 years ago, where there is no wisdom, there will be no reverence. And where there is no reverence, there will be no wisdom. Where there is no understanding, there will be no knowledge. And where there is no knowledge, there will be no understanding. On this day and every day, we pray that this court be granted the wisdom of good judgment and reverence for both the rule of law and the dignity and frailty within all of us. May this court be granted understanding that begins with humility and knowledge that leads them and all of us to justice, compassion, and truth. We thank you for this court, for its work, and for the opportunity to take part in our democracy. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be your will.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Rabbi. Agenda announcements, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have two announcements on today's agenda. The first is under purchasing. This will be item 9I2. This is bid number 2019-083. We're going to hold that for a week. Also, members of the Court, when we get to the briefing items, the telecommuting policy is on briefing. We are going to have a briefing on that, but that will occur after closed session today. And then I've been asked, Your Honor, and I know that there's probably other announcements also, but you know, everybody is working to do a lot of good things with the United Way. Our office is, if you've ever been on 4, at about this time of the year, you'll smell tamales for at least 3 weeks down there. But our tamale sales are still going on, and we have until when? Until at least the end of this week, because the sale is going to be on the 14th, and we sell close to 500 or 600 dozen tamales. So order your tamales, okay? And I think we're also going to have a lunch, and I know that I think Jack is probably going to have I guess he is going to have an announcement this morning. So for his also. So anyway, if you want tamales, come see us.
Are they hot tamales?
Absolutely.
The ones I've always gotten have been frozen tamales.
Well,
Have you changed?
Apparently you're coming a little early.
Come on down, Jack.
My observation with the tamales, there are never any dogs and cats on the north side when they sell them every year.
So is that that's a loser deal you have?
We have
The good thing is Little Jones played by the end of his career. We'll have the only dome stadium in the SEC. This morning is the annual Human Resources Budget and Purchasing Heat and Sweet Sale. Knowing that many of your names will be mispronounced this morning, we're serving comfort food in the lobby.
Look out.
Homemade chili, $5 a bowl, frito pie, and a whole variety of baked goods, homemade. Unlike the White Castle-sized biscuit burgers that the judge's office serve, you get a healthy bowl of chili this morning. Our motto has always been, in regards to our product, less buns means more meat. So come downstairs. Thank you.
By the way, we have pork tamales. So you know, yeah, they may be Razorbacks. But they're good.
What is in the water?
Yeah, it's. Speaking of which, would you like to make an announcement?
Oh, I think Commissioner Brooks is going to kick it off.
Age before beauty.
Age before a lot of things. Precinct 1 had a very successful fajita fiesta this past Friday at the Dion Phillips Bagsby Sub-Courthouse. We had fajitas, we had margaritas, we had mariachis, and we had a lot of fun and fellowship. Our fundraising activity is not yet over. Our silent auction table is in the lobby of this building, the administration building. It's across from Jack and all of his stuff. So when you go get your Frito pie, stop by the silent auction table. There are some wonderful, amazing opportunities on that table to go to a Mavericks game and sit right behind the Mavericks bench, to go to a Stars game and sit on the glass. Good stuff on that table. Go graze the table and bid on some auction items. It's all for a great cause, and I appreciate your support.
I didn't get to make it to your fajita deal, so I'll
Thank you, sir.
make the contribution.
All right.
It's your turn.
Yes. So last week on Halloween, or actually leading up to Halloween, on Halloween, the day, we had a number of Tarrant County team members to participate in a Halloween door decorating contest and also a costume contest. All of this is leading up to our November 22nd Taco About a Party lunch that's benefiting United Way. And I wanted to thank, I can't list everybody by name because we had so many folks participating, but did want to recognize the offices that have participated. Out of the Arlington Sub-Courthouse, the Tax Office, JP2, Constable 2, and the County Clerk's Office, and then out of Mansfield, Constable 7, JP7, Juvenile, the Tax Office, and also County Clerk. So thank you for everyone for participating, for us kind of taking a fun and celebratory approach to raising money for United Way. And again, we will make presentations to some of the winners on November 22nd at our Talk About a Party United fundraiser. That's 11:30 to 1:30 at the Arlington Sub Courthouse. But leading up to that, we have two events, an Alzheimer's Community Forum on next Wednesday, November 13th. I know we have guests from the Alzheimer's Association here to receive a resolution from Commissioner Fickus. That event is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then we have our fall open house and toiletry drive. We are collecting items for the students at TCC Southeast Campus. That's on Saturday, November 16th from 10 to 12:30. That's it.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Fickus, either one of y'all have any announcements you want?
We've had our fundraiser, and I know who wasn't there, so if y'all want to send checks.
I got my money.
I just think I'll be quiet.
I gotta give him $20.
Be cheaper on me.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of October the 29th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We do have a couple of proclamations today. The first is to honor Veterans Day, and I'll read that into the record. Whereas November the 11th, 1918 marked the end of hostilities between the Allied nations and Germany and is generally considered to be the end of the war to end all wars. And whereas more than 4 million American families sent their sons and daughters to serve in uniform during the Great War, and whereas it is fitting the anniversary of this date be observed with remembrance and gratitude for all veterans who have made tremendous sacrifices to protect our freedom, and whereas the 2019 Tarrant County Veterans Day Parade observance in the city of Fort Worth has been designated by the Department of Veterans Affairs as a regional site for the celebration of Veterans Day, and whereas this year marks the centennial celebration of Veterans Day observances in Fort Worth, as well as the 100th founding anniversary of the American Legion, the American Legion Auxiliary, and the Military Order of the World Wars. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim November the 11th, 2019 as Honor All Veterans Day in Tarrant County, and further that we encourage all citizens to show gratitude and reverence to all men and women who have bravely served our great country in all wars as well as in times of peace. In witness whereof we have herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 5th day of November 2019, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have Pixie Whitmore. We have several other folks, I think, here today to help with that or to accept this proclamation. So if y'all would please come forward at this time. You don't even slide her. Okay. Yes, well. Not that I'm going to direct things, but I'm going to direct things.
Judge Whitley, Commissioners, on behalf of the Tarrant County Veterans Council, we thank you for this honor. And Judge Whitley, I know we'll see you at the parade. I'm
Yes.
hoping we'll see some of the rest of you also. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask one quick question? Can I see the hands of the veterans? Thank you for your service.
Commissioner Fickus, I believe you have a proclamation.
We do. We have a proclamation this morning for Alzheimer's Awareness Month, November 2019. Whereas in 1983, President Ronald Reagan made the designation that the month of November be recognized as National Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and it is still being designated as such today. Whereas Alzheimer's disease leads to memory, thinking, and behavioral problems that get worse over time, eventually coming to the point where a person can no longer accomplish daily tasks. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, accounting for 60 to 80% of all cases, and is the sixth overall leading cause of death in the United States. And whereas there is no cure for Alzheimer's disease, only treatments that can slow down the progression, while researchers continue to search for a cure for the mind-robbing disease. And whereas Alzheimer's symptoms include memory loss, trouble planning or solving problems, confusion with time or place, misplacing things, and unable to retrace steps, moods, and personality changes. And whereas Alzheimer's Awareness Month allows organizations like the Alzheimer's Association opportunities to educate the public about the disease, treatment, support, and coping with a loved one that has the disease. And whereas Alzheimer's Awareness Month brings opportunity for citizens to participate in walks, volunteers, or donate to raise money for research. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2019 as Alzheimer's Awareness Month and encourage citizens to educate themselves on this serious and incurable disease. We further encourage residents to support our local Alzheimer's Association that is working to research, educate, support, and care for everyone affected by Alzheimer's disease. In witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 5th day of November 2019. And at this time, I would like to call to the podium. Let me first start off with I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I'd like to call to the podium Jeff Bird, Executive Director of the Alzheimer's Association of North Central Texas Chapter, Dave Parks, who is our Northeast Walk Chairman, and Holly Clinton, who is our Walk Manager. So if y'all would all come up. Okay. Jeff, you're the guy. First thing is, we have a check for $2,500. We want to give to you and the association, and we want to present our plaque. And let me say something else. I want to thank Dave for all the great work you did in helping put this together. And you got me involved. Thank you very much. Holly, you're the hardest working person I've ever seen. This lady was all over the place a couple of weeks ago, Saturday morning on October the 12th. We had a fabulous turnout for our walk here in Northeast Tarrant County. So thank you.
And by the way, you're still raising money through the end of the year.
And she's going to take 3 pictures. So you got to smile through 3 pictures. You did good. Thank you. Thank you. If you got a few words you'd like to say, go ahead. Holly,
Thank you so much.
Judge Whitley, Commissioner Ficus, and the other commissioners, thank you for the opportunity on this special day. I understand it's Employee Appreciation Day or Recognition Day. We appreciate you taking time to recognize Alzheimer's. 5.8 million Americans live with Alzheimer's today, If the trends continue in 2050, 14 million Americans will live with Alzheimer's. It's a devastating disease that robs us of who we are. Is there anything worse than that? The memories that we have. We don't. Some aren't able to recognize their family. It's the only disease that we lose somebody twice, and that's not fair. So this $2,500 will go a long way in helping us care for those 390,000 Texans that live with Alzheimer's disease. So thank you very much, and thanks to Dave and Holly. I just get to show up and receive a check and a plaque. They do work really hard to help the families affected by this disease. So thank you.
Now, before we get started with the employee recognition, one other announcement, and it again pertains to United Way. Just in case that y'all are not, doing a big campaign like you've heard here as far as getting the forms done and raising the money, we will have some forms out by the elevator that you can pick up. Go ahead and fill those out if you would like to, and you can either leave them in my office or you can drop them by HR and leave them there. We're really trying to, we've got the competition again this year with Fort Worth, but Fort Worth's an easy opponent to beat. But some of the other cities have joined in now, and I'm a little nervous. Some of them, North Richland Hills, some of those folks are getting a little excited about this. So I really want us to win overall, and anything you can do to help with that, any contribution you can make will be appreciated. So again, think about it and do what you can. With that,
Judge Whitley, please make certain that any forms dropped by your office are not added into your total.
You got anybody down there in the auditor's office? Where's the auditor? We'll have the auditor's office. I will be more than glad to let them audit and hold and hold them responsible for the posted results.
Mention they can make them payable to the Police Memorial Fund also.
I hope you all know, when you give to United Way, in addition to giving to United Way, you can also designate just about any other charity you would like to designate, and then have that, that amount given to that charity through payroll deduction over the year. And so one of those is our Tarrant County Law Enforcement Memorial, and in fact, we'll put out there by the elevator also a sample form that shows you exactly how to fill it out if you want to use and you want to give to the Tarrant County Law Enforcement Memorial. But you can do that. You can do it again through I do it through payroll deduction. I give some to JPS, I give to United Way, and I give a little bit to the Law Enforcement Memorial also. So I hope that you will consider that as you consider whether or not you're making a United Way contribution. Thank you, Commissioner, for mentioning that, for bringing that up. Now we go to our employee recognition. For you newbies, for you 5-year folks, the routine is I mispronounce your name. You stand up because you know where you are in the alphabet. And then at the end of that particular group, after we've named everybody, then you can sit down, and again, we want to recognize you and thank you for service. This year we go from 5 years all the way up to we have a couple of 30-year employees, but we have folks that are over the 45-year mark. So they've been with us for a long time, and we appreciate that service. And I every time when I talk with, especially a number of those folks, I ask them, did they ever expect to be here that long? And rarely do they say, oh yeah, I knew I was going to be here. Now there are some that do, and usually those are the ones who've had family members that had worked for the county. And trust me, there are several generations of families that have worked and that continue to work in the county because it is such a great place to work. And as a parent, what I've learned to understand is a lot of times you don't think your kids ever hear a single thing you say, but oftentimes as you watch them grow and mature, you realize maybe they did listen every once in a while through that television or that iPod or whatever it is that they're using when you're talking to them and trying to get their attention. So we'll start off with our 5-year employees. The first is Lauren Askew from Public Health. There she is. Hollis Kate from the Sheriff's Office. Jessica Cruz, District Clerk's Office. There's Jessica. Charles Holt III from the Sheriff's Office. Tulis Lozada. Okay, they didn't stand up, so we're not going to get I'm sure y'all were correct and I was not, but he was the Sheriff's Office. Joseph Martin from Information Technology. Erica McDavis, Public Health, WIC. Leonardo Castanon from Facilities Management. These are our 5-year employees. Our 10-year employees, Danielle Crunup, Juvenile Services. Al Gibbs, the Sheriff's Office. Mary Harrison, County Clerk. Arthur Jones, the Sheriff's Office. Jason Sanders, Facilities Management. Jason. Ashton Williams, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3. These are our 10-year employees. Thank you. For our 15-year employees, Farzine Abashari, Public Health. Yeah, did I get anywhere close? Close, thank you. Frank Abada. Yeah, well, I think he stood up because he knew he was next in the alphabet. Bobby Blount, Sheriff's Office. Joanna Cook, Juvenile Services. Carlene Homer, Resource Connection. Chanel Ivory, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Benny Jones, the Sheriff's Office. Carol Payne, Public Health. Tamla Ray, Criminal Courts. Louis Severe, Information Technology. Jennifer Thomas, Public Health. Let's give these 15-year employees. Now for our 20-year employees, Annette Moss, 348th District Court. Mark Butler, the Tax Office. John DeAngelis, Constable Precinct 3. Tracy Capsud. Is Tracy here?
Yes, she is. Capsadellis, sir.
Capsadellis, with the Criminal District Attorney's Office. Denise Martin with Domestic Relations. Robert Smith with Facilities Management. I sure like Robert Smith. Debbie Vaughn, Public Health, WIC. These are our 20-year employees. Now for our 25 plus, I call and have a little conversation with them. First is Arthur Arnold with the Sheriff's Office. There he is. Started out in the Corrections Center in the booking area, then to arraignment, and is actually still in arraignment. Loves it down there. He said it's been a lot of good times. When I asked him what he likes most, he said it's the family atmosphere. Hear that? Meeting a lot of interesting people, and you can just imagine how that might go. He said he's had an opportunity to work for a lot of good supervisors, and he said the benefits for the county have really been good. He is retiring the 25th of this month. Now, what he said, you know, my kids are up and grown. He said, I've always worked holidays, and this will be the first holiday season that I'll be at home. Arthur, we thank you very, very much for the 25 years of service you've given us. Next is Cheryl Bennett Wright from the Criminal Courts. There's Cheryl. Started in CSCD, then had the unfortunate luck of spending some time in GK's office, and then went to Criminal Courts Administration. Thought he might pop his head back in here, but he'll be back in here in a minute. Memorable moment was when the tornado hit downtown, and what she said that was memorable about that is how, you know, we didn't pause, and everybody just immediately sprang to action to see what we could do to help in whatever way we could help. She said, what I like most is the opportunity to help people. Every day is a little bit different. She said the people that she's had a chance to work with are some of the best people she's ever gotten to know. She said everyone really tries to do the right thing, and that really kind of stuck with me. She indicated that the time has really sped by. Cheryl, thank you so much for your 25 years of service. Y'all can sit down. I'm sorry. I messed up at the beginning here on that one. Next is Paul Brinkley, the 372nd District Court. He started out in the old Belknap jail, spent 20 years with the sheriff's office, and then transferred over to Judge Wish's court and became his bailiff. And he's been a bailiff since 2014. Memorable moment was that he was honored in 2009 as the employee or deputy of the year in the sheriff's office. What he likes most is working as a bailiff is that he gets to work with the public and at the same time still deal with security issues. He likes the variety that he gets by working in the courts. He said the county has always been good and has always supported him. He said it's like a family, and he's developed a lot of great friends. He was actually on schedule to be down here last month, but he was in the middle of a capital murder case and could not make that down. So, Paul, we appreciate you coming down this month, and we appreciate very much your 25 years of service to Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is Robert Berger from CSCD, 25 years. Started out as a contract worker and then later that same year became an employee. He has always been in the software area, IT software area. He started out as a developer of the software, and now he runs the IT department for the agency. When I asked him about the more memorable moments, he said it was the vast changes that he had seen in technology over the years that he's been with us. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, I really like all of it. It's the family atmosphere. Everyone there is doing everything they can to help each other, but also to care for each other. And, you know, and there's a distinction there. We want to help each other, but we also really, I think, take time to care for one another. He said his goal, and he commented on this, and it kind of struck me. His goal has always been, and he feels like it's been a county goal, to do as much as we can with as little as we can. And when you stop and think about it, again, we are the custodians of taxpayer dollars. And so I think that really brings home when you think, as much as we can with as little as we can. He said the mission has changed over the year. He said the mission has changed so much over the years, but it's still to encourage folks to do the right thing and to help people get back on the right path within CSCD. And you stop and think of the individuals that they are dealing with, and that really is their goal, to do the right thing and to get people back on the path to do the right thing. Robert, thank you very much for your 25 years of service. Next is Lori Hooper, Juvenile Services. There she is. Started out at the Joe Edson Youth Center, went to Community Corrections, overseeing contracts, and then to the JJAP program. Was a middle school supervisor, and again is now back at the department doing the community corrections. Memorable moments. She said that kids will reach out to her who had gone through the Joe Edson Center and talked about the effect that it had on their lives and on their parenting skills as they raise their kids. And when you stop and think about it, I mean, the whole purpose of our system is to try to get people back on the right path, doing the right thing. And I think that, that was something that really meant an awful lot to her. What she likes most is the longevity of the folks that she's had a chance to work with. She said, this county is unprecedented as to what we have accomplished and basically willing to do things differently. And I do believe in many areas, not just in juvenile services, but in a lot of areas, Tarrant County is a leader. They will try things to do things differently and not just say, well, this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we're always going to do it. And that happens, in my opinion, because we've got people, we've got employees who don't just look at this as being a job. And so they want to think out of the box about how they can do it better and how they can help people in whatever ways that they're looking to help. Collaborativeness, that was the word that I took from a lot of that, is that we collaborate together to, again, try to figure out the best way to do things, not to embarrass folks, but to really work together and try to make things happen. She said she's had a chance to work with Tarrant Cares from the very beginning, and that it's really made and had an impact on this area. Like many folks, she says the 25 years just flew by. And I think that's something, I had an opportunity, we've been visiting the jail shifts in the last couple, and last night I talked to several people, and I usually ask them, well, how long have you been with the county? Out of the 10 or more people that I asked, I would venture to guess that more than 50% of them had been here less than 2 years. And I just explained to them, again, this whole approach of employee appreciation and how many of them that I would talk to at the 25 and plus year said they never expected to be here that long, but they just woke up one morning and they'd been here 25 years. So, Lord, thank you very, very much for the 25 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Rebecca McIntyre, Criminal District Attorney's Office, 25 years. Started out on the Narcotic Task Force, then the Family Violence, spent some time at Juvenile and then in the Crimes Against Children area, and is now in the Civil Forfeiture area or Division area. Memorable moments is when the Drug Diversion Court started up, and then also some of the things that have happened in the Crimes Against Children area. And I heard this 3 times when I was talking to people, and it was not something that I in any way initiated. I love the nature of the work. Do the right thing and help people out. And she attributed that to Tim Curry, as he would always say, is do the right thing and help people out. And again, I heard that from 3 different departments in 3 different ways. But again, I think that's what we're here to do. We are here to do for our not only the people we work with, but for the people we come in contact with. She said, I feel blessed to have been given the opportunities that she has at Tarrant County. And Rebecca, I'll tell you, we are blessed by your service to Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is Freddie Wild from County Court at Law Number 2, 25 years. Is Freddie here? He wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it. He started out in the sheriff's office in the correction at the bond desk. Spent some time in a transportation area. He went to the academy and got his peace officer's license, and now, and then he went to judicial and was there for about 6 weeks, I think, kind of as a floater, and then went to criminal court of law number 2 and has been the bailiff there now for 18 years. When you see him, thank him for the 25 years of service that he's given to Tarrant County. Let's give him a hand. Next is Dwight Franklin, the sheriff's office, 30 years of service. Is Dwight, there he is. I was fixing that. He came back in off vacation to be here today. So that's the reason he's not in uniform. He started out in Cold Springs as a jailer and went to the correction center, and now he's kind of in the transportation area. He drives folks back and forth between JPS and the jail. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, in 2003, he was called up for 2 tours in Iraq. And he said, I was a little nervous about what the reaction and how I was going to be treated when I came back. And he said, I didn't even feel like I'd been gone. He said, the folks treated me so great. And I had basically just been out. But they treated me like family, and they just really made me feel at home when I came back. He said, I've just had some great, great folks to have a chance to work with. He said, the time has really gone by fast. And Dwight, we really want to thank you for the 30 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. And for our thank you. Next is Clint Harwell with the Sheriff's Office, 30 years. There's Clint. Started out in the Belknap Jail, spent some time in extradition, internal affairs. He's now back in the patrol area. When I first talked to him, on memorable moments, he said it was that first day. He said, I walked into that jail, and that door slammed behind me, and I thought, man, what have I done? Can I get out? What he likes most is the friends that he's had a chance to make. He said it is a tight-knit family atmosphere around the county. There's always something new going on. He said the county was his only full-time job. He'd gotten his bachelor's degree from TCU, raised his family while he was with the county. He said, I answered an ad in the paper, and that's how I got the job. When I talked to him 5 years ago, he had a daughter that was a sophomore, son that was in middle school and high school. Now, his youngest is at Hardin-Simmons as a freshman. His daughter is applied to optometry. And he said, I'm just now beginning to look down that road to retirement. Clint, thank you very much for the 30 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Next is Jackie Mouton. Did I do better? All right. I mispronounced it 5 years ago, which is usual for the course. 30 years with the Sheriff's Department. Our sheriff's 30 years with the county. Well, it's with the Sheriff's Department. She started off in Belknap, and then she went to judicial, promoted to deputy, and went to warrants in 96. Was actually on loan to the U.S. Marshal's office for a while. Is now doing fugitive warrants in the Sheriff's Office. Memorable moments were being a part of the TAC team and worked mental warrants. And she said there was never a dull moment when she was working mental warrants. And I can just imagine that to be the case. She said, I love the experiences, the opportunities to advance, to be a part of the tactical team. She said, I've had an opportunity to work with some great people and had some great supervisors. 5 years ago when we talked, she had a 2.5-year-old granddaughter, and now that granddaughter's in 2nd grade, and she's taking care of her. She said, I never thought that I would be with the county 30 years when I came that first day. Jackie, we are very, very glad that you're still with the county. And thank you very much for your service, and we hope you'll have many more years of service. Thank you. 670 years of service, and it's dedicated service. We want to thank you again for all that you do, for the way you act, for the professional way you conduct the business. You are what makes Tarrant County, Tarrant County. And it's a leader throughout the state and throughout the nation. And when folks come here, they talk about how friendly it is, and they talk about the experiences that they've had. So, again, thank you. We've got refreshments in 504C back there. Again, thank you very, very much. Wilder, you ain't going nowhere.
I'm just gonna get a banana.
You're going to give him a hand with the refreshment? You're going to get a banana. If he has anything in his hands but a banana when you get back there, I want to hear about it. Thank you all. And I will move that we receive and file employee recognition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
They received it, they, 5 of us received
I gave you your money already.
What's that? They made the motion.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you. No problem.
This one, okay.
For you, I already did all my counting.
Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have one additional item this morning. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court repeal the prohibition against outside burning in the unincorporated areas of Tarrant County.
Move approval.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell.
We have one item we're asking the court to consider, and that's to approve the release of the approximately $8 million of collateral as outlined in the attached court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Glenn.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have motion and second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
We have three additional items. They're all waivers. The first is from the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff is requesting a waiver of 176 vacation hours effective November 7th. This is related to a captain who left service at the end of September. We're estimating a cost to the commissary fund of a little bit more than $10,000, including fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second waiver is from the Criminal Courts Administration. Mr. Shugart is requesting a waiver in this case. His magistrate support shift supervisor retired from county service at the end of October. We're requesting a waiver of 352 vacation hours effective November 11th. We are estimating, however, net savings to the general fund of approximately $6,400. That does include fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our final item, again, as I mentioned, is a waiver, this time from Precinct 4. Commissioner Johnson is requesting a waiver of 400 hours. This is related to the retirement of his Director of Field Operations at the end of October. The waiver is for 376 vacation hours at an estimated cost to the general fund of approximately $35,000.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham.
Your Honor, other members of the court, we have two additional items besides the comfort food item to talk to you about this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2020-003. This is our annual contract for office supplies and other miscellaneous products. Our recommendation would be to award the Staples contract and commercial on a per enterprise basis and a discount off lift price.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And I have a couple of comments, and thank you for the approval for this. This is a special contract. In Tarrant County, we bring to you every Tuesday 25, 30 items on the agenda every week. We have a large number of vendors that service our county properly. I'd like to acknowledge from Staples this morning, Jeremy Chico and Kaki Etheridge, and ask them to stand so you know who that they are.
How well did he do on that name? She's not even talking. How well did he do on the pronunciation?
I'm actually pretty offended. We've had a lot of meetings together.
Welcome to my world, Jack. She's even blushing back there now. You mispronounced it so badly.
Comfort food, right? This is a special contract at Tarrant County. These ladies are the ones that make this thing work. They have taken this contract to a new level. This no contract in Tarrant County is evergreen. This has been rebid, and rebid again, and they continue to come out successfully over the years. This is the 7th year in this particular contract format where Tarrant County will receive a rebate. Last year, our rebate was a total of $298,192.28. We expect pretty close to that, if not more, this year. There are presently 43 entities within the Metroplex that share in that revenue contract. They shared the third largest payout between the 43 of them this past year, with a total of $371,906.87. Our expenditures for Tarrant County this past year were $510,345.83. With the rebate that we received from Staples, we didn't pay a lot for office supplies countywide. That's a special deal. Again, this will be the 7th year. This is a 1-year contract with 4 one-year renewals. And I can't say loudly enough, I don't get the opportunity to pat too many vendors on the back, but every one of them ought to operate and use a mindset and attention to detail that Staples does with Tarrant County. There's nothing, that's one of the best contracts in the Metroplex and in the country. Our prices for office supplies are the best in the country. And that's to attribute to the ladies behind me and the folks that support them. And thank you from purchasing in Tarrant County. You make us look good. Thank you.
Okay.
Our last item is an item in regards to bid 2019-177. This is an annual contract for copy maintenance and supplies that was initially approved in Commissioner's Court on August 13, 2019, under Court Order 130827. We had a conversation sometimes back, and we've actually been gentler and kinder and tried to give benefit of the doubt. This particular contract today, we are asking that we cancel the award to Logic Service, Inc., and remove them from the bidders list for 2 years and re-award 17 items to the next low bidders. We actually had verbal conversations. We had emails with them prior to making this first recommended award. We issued several purchase orders to them. They came back and said it's just not enough. And so it's kind of a situation where you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. I wish they wouldn't have accepted the initial award. They made the statement to us electronically and verbally that they would be happy with the primary or secondary award, only to find out on the 14th of October that they don't want to play anymore. So my recommendation would be to re-award those 17 items and take these folks off the bidders list for 2 years.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Are there any appointments today? None, then we will proceed to our claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have 2 items for you today. The first we're going to discuss now, and then the second one we'll discuss after we come from close. The first deals with an update as it relates to the 2020 census count of Tarrant County. Mr. Schaffner is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning, Russ.
This is a follow-up from a conversation we had at the beginning of October regarding the Tarrant County's work that we're going to be doing on the census. When we came to the court in early October, it was kind of the will of the court that we do a census program. And so we've worked with folks within the county administrator's office, community development, as well as the precinct administrators and the judge's office to work out a plan, which we're going to go over with you today, over what the Tarrant County activities regarding the census will be. So just quick refresh for everybody. Every 10 years, the feds the Constitution requires that we have a census count and an enumeration of all the residents within the country, and that is also within Tarrant County, of course. Historically, the state has appropriated funds. They did for the 2010 census to help with this issue, to help mobilization and community awareness. They did not make that appropriation this legislative session. So it's now fallen on the feds and cities and counties to work on this. The next census will begin April 1st, 2020. This, of course, the census does impact federal funding. The number that we're using in Tarrant County is $1,578 per person is the amount of money, federal funds that each person that's counted in our community would bring to our community annually. Congressional appointments, of course, last census we've got 4, hoping to get at least 3 or 4 again. Redistricting, economic development, and quality of life issues.
Go back to your $1,578 number.
Yes, sir.
The converse of what you said is that for every person who is not counted,
correct,
that's $1,578 that we do not get.
Correct. Per person per year.
Per person per year.
So the stakes are very, very high. If you look at Tarrant County and a 1% count increase, that's $36 million with just a 1% increase in the folks that are counted within and appropriately counted within our community. 2020 census key challenges.
So you said a 1%.
1%.
As opposed to 1%.
Correct, 1%.
Thank you.
Got a word. Percent person.
Well, I was trying to figure out, I thought he just said 1,500 and now he's saying million, and I'm trying to figure out, okay. I'm getting older, that percent person, I know.
Bean counter.
I'm a bean counter.
Key challenges, funding.
When you lose is your beans.
Some key challenges, funding, internet access. 23% of Tarrant County population has limited or no internet access.
Yeah, we've got almost 20% up here. It's internet.
Hard to count populations, approximately 2,400 or 24% of Tarrant County populations are in a census tract that has been identified as a hard to count area. Or part of our hard-to-count population, and then also concerns regarding confidentiality. The census is confidential. There are very strict laws regarding the confidentiality of the census, and that is another. So Tarrant County strategies, what the plan that we've put together, what it boils down to is kind of found on this slide. First, Mayor's Council coordination. Last week, we sent out a letter to all of the mayors and senior staff in the county, requesting them to find out where they are, who's doing a complete count committee, as the U.S. Census has been working on, who's doing a complete count committee, who's planning on doing one, and then how we can assist those who are not. Some of the smaller communities may not be as interested in doing a complete count committee, and how can the county assist them. So we're beginning that partnership, that collaborative atmosphere within the county with our city partners. Census Ambassador Program. This will be a program where we will work with various community members, community groups to find volunteers to help work census events, community events, making sure that the census is well represented at all the events that we have starting in January and going on. Community Assistance Center programs. So to deal with the issue that we have, again, over 20% of our population has limited or no internet access, making sure that internet access is available and the census is available to everyone. And one is the Community Assistance Center program would allow, through a short training, allow businesses or other community centers that has a spare laptop or a spare iPad or tablet to have some information on how you can help and assist somebody with doing the census. So this would be like at a doctor's office, as an example. Someone waiting for their appointment. Hey, have you taken a census? Kind of a take your census here poster there, and then be able to do that. This is a best practice that several other communities across the nation are also implementing. technical expertise and assistance, using what resources the county has to help folks, and also working on a countywide messaging strategy around Tarrant counts, and making sure that we have a cohesive strategy that will also have some social media work within that. And then also leveraging Tarrant County resources. What internal capacities do we have that we can leverage? How are we interacting with folks and making sure that everybody is being made aware that the census is coming, and to make sure and take your census. Also, just a quick note, because I think this is very important, protecting the public. This is going to be something that we're going to be putting some information out on as well. The census will never ask for personal identification numbers or information, social security number, checking account, or bank account and credit card information, monetary donations, or politically affiliated contributions. There are going to be a lot of people around talking about the census. You could potentially print up a fraudulent badge and go door to door asking for people's information. This is something we want to make sure people know. If someone is claiming to be a census worker or census information or asking for these type of information, it could be the census will never do that, and this could be fraudulent activity. So that's something we're also wanting to make sure everyone's aware of as we go forward. Key census dates. Census starts on April the 1st. By May of 2020, census takers will begin visiting non-responsive households. If you did not fill out the survey online, via the phone, or return your census by mail, you start getting knocks on your door in May from census workers trying to get you to respond to the census and that household to respond. July 31st, the census closes. By December 2020, the census will be presented to the President and to Congress. And on March 31st, 2021, the Bureau sends the 2020 census information to the states for redistricting purposes. So just go ahead and make sure everyone is aware, January 12th, 2021 is when the next legislative session starts. This information will land in the middle of the session, and we will have
chaos.
We will have a productive opportunity to discuss redistricting.
Go Russell.
Yeah, I'm not making any summer plans for 2021. So, current accomplishments, we've established the core group, which is made up of administrators'
Can you go back
office.
for just a second?
Yes, sir.
I guess you said that are they going to mail out surveys to everybody?
Yes.
They're not
Yes,
going to give any time for those people who to fill it out online and then therefore not mail to those folks.
Great. It's my understanding that you'll start getting information via email. Some emails will go out if you've signed up regarding take your census online. And then everyone will receive, I believe it's by April the 1st, a piece of mail that has the hard copy census application form on it, that you could take that and then
Are you
put it in.
implying then that we could fill out the census information before April 1?
There has been some information that by March 23rd, you can do that online.
I'm just thinking again from and I know it's the federal government, and heaven forbid that they try to save money, but if you could do it online, and if they could use that to some way or another limit the amount of mail that goes out. Of course, I guess they're trying to keep the post office afloat. So.
Well, I understood that I'm not sure what amount of time, that they were going to allow some amount of time before they start mailing to see who responds by phone or by
email,
by online. But then you're required by the Constitution, they would have to mail whoever hasn't responded. But I don't know what that date was. But that's what I understood from one of my meetings with the.
And that's where I believe the March 23rd date comes around. I believe that's the day that it opens up online. That you can begin taking.
Can you kind of follow up?
I'll follow up and get you all a detailed timeline.
You know, I think the point that you put up there about being very sure. I think one of the things we need to hit anytime we get in front of a group is they'll never ask you for personal identification numbers or any of that, because there will be people out there trying to take advantage of folks.
Always scam artists.
Phone calls, all that. So the more we can put that out there on every social media, every website, everything we've got, we ought to do that. And as quickly as we can do that, we ought to start doing that.
Yes, sir.
The other thing to bear in mind is that The census is required to count every resident of the United States, not every citizen. Every person who lives here, regardless of their status, needs to be counted.
And I think in our messaging, and I know we're not at that point yet to have that formulated, but in our messaging, we need to make that very clear.
And one of the things that I think we need to do is, especially in our public health, I see, look up there, Vinny, yeah, there we go. In those departments where we have people coming in,
Yes.
we need to be sure that we have, as we said, computer or whatever, that they can fill out and that we encourage them to complete the census from that standpoint. So
Absolutely.
we can work with JPS, we can work with all the clinics that JPS has, tax office.
I already had a note written down to talk to you about that.
Okay.
WIC program.
Yeah, WIC program would be a great place. So there's a lot of different things, but we need to be sure that we've got that and make sure we get as many of those out as we possibly can.
Yeah,
IT can help us make sure we have computers, hopefully, that can do that.
Well, we talk about a core working group here. We have an expanded group that we put a list together, and it includes all of those departments and JPS where there's outreach where we can get that message out. I believe Mr. Schaffner sent you all some additional information on that maybe last week.
So with our current accomplishments from the first time that we presented, we've established the core working group, which is our office, folks from our office, community development, and then representative from each one of the Commissioner's Court's offices to work through and kind of make sure this ball keeps rolling and dealing with issues as we move forward. We've developed the draft 2020 census plan, which, as Mr. Mania said, was sent out to y'all, I believe, late last week. We began the outreach for Tarrant County cities to see who's doing the complete count groups. We have a slide deck for you all to put in any presentation that that the court is giving, or anyone else within our county community who wants to talk about the census. Put in 2 or 3 slides, and you'll be able to give an update and make sure people are aware of this. We've been meeting with potential community partners, and then we've set up a text alert system. So, if you text 693-69310, and you text Tarrant Counts, and because I always mess this up, we've included a little thing. So if you text 69310 to the 2, and everyone who's already playing on your phones, go ahead, and then you type Tarrant Counts, you'll get a little notification back that says that you've been signed up for Tarrant County Census Alerts. And so what we'll be able to do is through this, we can send out updates that, make sure you fill out your census, census is coming, those type of issues to this group. And so we're encouraging everybody to do it so that we'll have a great way of communication. And this is part of the slide deck as well, so everyone gets it. So, and then
So do you think, we did this last week at Harvard, North Texas. Are you going to send, how frequently do you think they're going to get something, or are they not going to get anything from now until April 1?
Well, that's part of our messaging strategy of how we'll use this exactly. This is a tool. This is a very direct tool, and one that if we use too much, they'll delete it or take stop to it, which will end it. So we'll want to be very sparing, use this sparingly, but it will be one that we'll use that has direct coordination and communication with folks.
And it'll carry our messaging.
Yes, this is Tarrant County only messaging. And that's another thing just to mention, that you are able to take the census online via your phone. So that is one thing that we will want to do we'll do is we can send the link to the census out to this group, whoever signs up, to where you can literally push the link and take the census on your phone.
But eventually that link will be on this text.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any questions?
No, but I do have some suggestions.
Great.
So around this time last month, the census hosted a press conference launching the opening of their Dallas and Tarrant County offices. And they had shared that one of their biggest needs will be for enumerators, that they need approximately like 1.3, 1.5 or something like that million people to apply to get to the around 800,000 people that they need.
Correct.
And obviously, we know what it's like now for folks that are searching for to add to their team, and it's being difficult. It's difficult, so it's going to be that much more difficult for people to serve as enumerators. But those are pretty decent paying jobs for short term. I'd like to see us work with maybe Workforce Solutions, or I'm not sure who, to host a job fair. I would say either, I'm not sure where it would be. It's certainly willing to host it in Precinct 2.
Resource Connection.
Yeah, geared towards, and also making sure that we loop in our college-age students who may be looking for part-time work.
I think workforce development, talking with Judy would be good. Would be a great place to start on that deal. When will we actually have a list of the questions? Do we already have that?
Those are available. We can send those out to everyone.
Would you please?
Yes, sir.
13.
Well, I thought, how many questions is it?
13.
It better
It's
be
10 total.
Hmm?
I believe it's 10 questions total. It's it's the feds. It's always complicated. So just some immediate next steps for everyone. We're going to be sending out invitations shortly for as Mr. Manius mentioned, the larger work group of all of our county stakeholders. We've been working with your offices to work on a precinct level community stakeholder meeting, do it precinct level based, develop logo and branding, and finalize the results of our survey that we've sent out to the cities to get that information for them, and continue to work with those complete count committees within our communities, and develop materials and partner toolkits as we go forward. So we'll continue with updates and bringing y'all information as we go.
So I have a couple of concerns. One is, I know that we don't, well, share with me, we have our core group and then the extension of the core group. Obviously, that would be folks adding on census-related activities onto what they're currently doing. Has there been any discussion to having a dedicated staff to census efforts?
We're still evaluating options and what the kind of the need needs to be.
Have
Yes,
dedicated staff members, and my thought is if the state hasn't dedicated any funding, I mean other states in the hundreds of millions of dollars or over $100 million, and the fact that I don't think our state has a complete count committee, then it's totally reliant. I mean, it's going to be on us to make sure that our county gets counted. So
absolutely.
But I think we are working with cities from that standpoint.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I don't know that I don't want to hire anybody from that standpoint other than, I mean, if we've got folks within.
Sure. I'm not suggesting that at this point, but I'm saying I want to make sure that is considered.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if we have 41 cities, the larger cities, they have the capacity, and some of the cities have pulled together. But then for some of the smaller cities, even in Precinct 2, that's where I see that, we can do a lot of good there. And then, of course, with the undercount or the hard-to-count communities, it's going to take a lot of work. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'll be curious to see how we kind of dig deeper on the undercount or the hard-to-count communities.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. All right.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's all we have this time.
Then we'll recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempt under section 551.1, 071, 072, 074, 076, and
the highlights of this policy. I'm not going to go through every detail. I'm just looking at the 4.5-page document. So there's a lot of information here when we go over the highlights. I will say that we have feedback on this policy. Obviously, HR, the administrator's office, the DA's office, IT has reviewed it, risk management has reviewed it. So we do feel it's a comprehensive policy and one that we would like to support. So I'm going to start under the definitions section, just highlight a few things. Tell
want it on. Okay. The primary workplace being a county-owned or operated location. So the intent is telecommuting happening at an off-site workplace and a telecommuter being not here in a county building during that time. A telecommuter in this case would need to be a full-time employee, would need to be an exempt or salaried employee. Under policy guidelines, we are approving telecommuting in limited circumstances that will depend on the essential job functions of a given position. So it is a case-by-case basis. It is position by position. The requests will be considered individually. Telecommuting is not an entitlement. It is not a county-wide benefit, and it is not for all employees. So we want to emphasize that while we are creating this policy in order to facilitate telecommuting, at the same time, it is not something that our employees are entitled to, and it's not necessarily something that we will approve in anything more than limited circumstances. Telecommuting will still require a formal set schedule. They must work, telecommuters must work at the primary workplace or in a county-owned facility for at least 90 days before they're approved for a telecommuting arrangement. There are no changes to position requirements, to responsibilities, to the amount of time that an employee spends on their duties with regards to telecommuting. None of that will change. We are going to review assignments, telecommuting assignments annually at least, or more frequently at the discretion of the department head. I would again emphasize that the arrangements can be discontinued at any time. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You're saying telecommuting assignments will be reviewed annually or at the discretion of the department head. I would like for that sentence to end with a period after the word annually, and then rephrase the next part of that, or at the discretion of the department head, that a review will be performed by the department head as to continue. If maybe the department head doesn't want to, or doesn't feel it necessary to review that annually. It just, the way you got it, it's really up to them if they want to look at it or not. I want them to look at it.
Okay. We'll fix the sentence.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it needs to say a minimum of annually.
I was thinking reviewed at least annually.
Yeah.
If there are no other questions on the first page, I'll go to the second page. I'm not going to go through all of the bullet points that you see there for eligibility because most of them are fairly general. I will emphasize that a position that qualifies for telecommuting will need to have duties that lend themselves to that. So these are duties that can be effectively performed off-site, generally with some independence, and something that a telecommuter can do without interaction with other individuals. We will need to have duties that can be performed with technology that we have that lends itself again to telecommuting. The employee will need to be exempt or salaried. As I mentioned a little bit ago, there will need to be unlimited need for face-to-face interaction, whether that's with coworkers, internal or external customers, or the citizens or the general public. Obviously, if you're meeting with the public all day long, telecommuting is not the way to go.
And I will say, again, I guess my thought in that deal is there are certain jobs within the county that I think lend themselves to telecommuting. I'm not sure that those jobs have only exempt employees in them. And as much as I'm hesitant about this, I'll just say it up front, I'm hesitant, but that's just because I'm an old fart. And I just feel like that, I need to be here at work. But I know that technologies especially is something that can be done from anywhere, and that's evident by the number of companies who allow employees to telecommunicate. Right. So I'm a little nervous about the fact that we're basically saying you got to be an exempt employee before you can do this. I think it should be more a deal of what the job entails, whether or not you have to be at this building or some other building in order to be able to do that job.
One of the things that we talked about related to that, right now we just don't have a timekeeping framework that will allow us to have non-exempt employees record their time the way that it should be done if telecommuting is a possibility. I mean, right now we have non-exempt staff go in and say, I worked 8 hours today. Most telecommuting arrangements have an online system where you go in and at 12:01 p.m. you've logged in, and at 8:05 p.m. you logged out. So we don't have that in our system today.
Do we envision that most of the telecommuting jobs are going to be IT jobs?
Possibly. I wouldn't say necessarily yes. We spoke about a couple of departments, DRO and Juvenile Services, which have field work. They're out interviewing clients, they're out interviewing youth or people, victims, witnesses, what have you. Frequently, those individuals are working out in the field and would really lend themselves to telecommuting because chances are they may be doing it already and are doing it already.
I mean, in those situations, I look at telecommuting doing is that you're working from home. I mean, I don't see somebody that's a juvenile, a social worker or anything like that. I don't consider that a telecommuting job. It's just a job that requires you to be out in the field.
Right. And what this would allow, per policy, is that instead of when you're done with your field work, come back to the office, you can do your field work and then go home and complete your notes, your reports, whatever it is.
I think for some employees, will be a huge savings of dollars for the employee. I mean, no laundry, limited daycare, no lunch.
I guess the one thing I disagree with you on is I don't think it's limited daycare right now, because read the paragraph on page 3 called telecommunicators may not engage in any personal or non-county activities, period.
Okay, if you say so.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying so. I want to see that. I'm going to eventually lobby for that paragraph to come out.
I agree, but I'm just saying that there's a number, no parking, no gasoline, no, lower miles on your car, could keep going. Now, it's going to save the county some money. Less office space being used. Maybe we eliminate the need of a building someday. Who knows?
Still got to have a place for them to work for.
2 days out of the week.
I'd like to see us maintain a clear line between those who are working from home and are in classic telecommuter situations versus those employees who work in the field. They should not be, those employees who work in the field should not be subject to a whole bunch of these regulations that would be imposed upon them as if they were telecommuters. They're not telecommuters.
And we had a pretty in-depth discussion about that yesterday, because working doesn't necessarily mean that you come to a county office building and work. Think about your road crews. They don't do that. They're out in the field.
They start out in the office.
Yes, and so we're still looking at that. It's a somewhat of a gray area, because there's not a need for someone in juvenile, if their task is to be out in the field interviewing clients and checking up on clients, that they have to come back to the office necessarily to write the reports. They have the electronic equipment. They can go home and write those reports and then bring them in. I think we were trying to create an environment where that there were tasks or duties that could be measured if you telecommute.
Yeah, I think that's one of my areas of concern is how are we monitoring that work is in fact being done? I mean, you would have at the end of a workday work product, but otherwise, how are you monitoring that work is consistently being done? I mean, I know with some software tools, you can get screen grabs or things like that, which I'm not suggesting that would be appropriate for every person who would telecommute, but how would we ensure that?
We know that if it's an IT-related task, that they will probably be logging into our system, so we can tell. And remember, these are exempt employees, so they work per job, if you will, and so that's one reason why we initially wanted to limit it to exempt employees, because as a definition of exempt employees, they work somewhat more independently. And so we were trying to build on that.
Sure.
Judge, I know you have a concern about non-exempt, but I would suggest that as we go through this policy or move forward on this policy, that we first limit it to exempt employees, and then if there is a need that we discover for non-exempts, that we come back and address it with the Commissioner's Court, because this is a policy of the county, of the Commissioner's Court, and you can amend that policy any Tuesday.
I guess my thought would be, I don't mind starting out that way initially. If we have jobs, though, I don't know that any of our IT people, programmers, are non-exempt.
No, they're not.
So, I mean, that's again where I see the most, so maybe it's a moot point.
They are exempt, aren't they?
They are, that's what
Yeah, they are exempt.
Programming staff is exempt.
Right. So I think that you may be right. We may be able to say exempt, and we may not have jobs within the county that we currently believe that can telecommunicate, whatever we call it, telecommute. We can telecommunicate either, but telecommute, that would be considered hourly employees. I am, though, that paragraph under work schedules, the last one, says telecommuters may not engage in any personal or non-county activities during assigned work hours, and may not engage in employment activities for other employer or agency during their I can certainly go along with that last part, but I think we're just setting our people up to fail. When we put absolutes on that, then in effect, if we do have a parent that is home and the child may be sick that would normally be at school, then that basically says you either got to bring a daycare worker home or you violated the policy. And I just don't think we ought to set our people up to fail. So I got a real problem with most of that paragraph.
We will talk with the DA's office about that one.
And you might have to talk to them some more. Under off-site workplace, with the checklist, pictures must be supplied by the telecommuter as evidence of off-site workplace conditions.
I think we struck that, didn't we? We do have pictures?
It's fairly common in the industry. I mean, it's not certainly maybe the majority of people, but it is fairly common, and some of that being risk prevention for workplace injuries, that sort of thing. So we want to make sure that our employees are setting up a workspace that is safe, it's ergonomic, and the probably simplest way of doing that is getting the picture and having them do the safety checklist. We certainly could do something like spot check homes or off-site workplaces. That gets a lot more involved.
So I can do it after we've had people come in and clean the house and not before, to show all the cluttered mess that I've left on the floor.
Right.
We prefer not to do that.
Yeah, me too. Should the county determine the off-site work? I think you're getting into a real can of worms when you start saying, okay, we're going to look at all the places that you're working and we'll determine whether or not you've got a clean house or not.
Are you going to?
Yeah, that's not in the final plan.
Okay, Ann, keep going through.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Should the county, on page 4, under the first paragraph of off-site workplace, both of those sentences are still in there.
It has the right to make.
And then telecommuters will work at off-site workplace during work hours as agreed by management. So that, I mean, they could agree, I guess, then, that if I have a real problem sleeping, it could be from 12 midnight to 8 a.m.
I suppose if management agreed to that, yes.
Okay? All the questions?
I'm going to back up and just highlight a couple of other things. On page 2, under salary administration and benefits, I just want to emphasize that pay, benefits, hours, schedules, leave requests, all of that stays the same under telecommuting arrangement. There is no special or different consideration for anybody that's telecommuting. Work schedules will remain the same or as agreed upon, as we've just discussed, by the manager or supervisor and the telecommuter. Performance appraisals are still required. That's a norm, and that will continue to be the case. We do have a limit on this, that they can telecommute no more than 3 days per week, so at least 2 days of the week they need to be at a primary work site or a county-owned building. Under equipment, there is a lot of detail under equipment. The IT department supplied us with this language. I will just say that the county will determine what equipment is needed. If it is equipment that is supplied by the county, it should be used for business purposes only. And the telecommuter will do some maintenance on that, the usual upgrades, everything that you probably do already here in the office. On the 4th page, security remains, of course, a big concern. They also did, ITD also did supply us with this security provision. So again, if you're using county-controlled computing or computers, you're going to do that with our network resources unless it's a mobile-based app. You will be required to adhere to all the usual policies, the electronic communications policies, do the training that is required of any employee. We do, on the last page, have one provision for ad hoc arrangements. So in those temporary situations that an employee may need to be working from home, or if we have county-declared emergencies, special projects, something like that, we do have provisions for those temporary and short-term scenarios as well. And with that, I will take any more questions or concerns.
Any other questions or concerns at this time? So what's the plan?
So what the input that we received today, we're going to go back and add that into the policy, the proposed policy. And we're going to bring it up to the court for approval probably next week or no later than 2 weeks.
Under off-site workplace, that restricts the telecommuter to only working from one set location. One could not pick up one's laptop and cell phone and go to Starbucks, for instance, and work through a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
I think the issue...
That seems overly restrictive.
I think the issue with that, Commissioner, is security. We deal with PHI, protected health information, CJIS information, financial information that does not need to be in a public setting. I just heard, I was at a conference last week and went to a seminar about telecommuting, and there was a group presenting that said the only concern we have with that and the reason why we don't allow people to work at Starbucks or some other public entity is because somebody can walk behind you and see everything that's on your screen. Laptops don't normally have those privacy screens that are on a lot of desktops that are visible to the public. So that is the main concern with having those Starbucks or public computers.
By the same token, one working from one set workplace, say it's in a home, there could be other people in the home who
Absolutely.
walk by the screen. and gain access to the same information.
Absolutely.
I agree with Commissioner Brooks, you need to make that more flexible. Put a screen on there where they can't walk behind them and do it. I mean, you know, you mentioned, Kathy, I mean, they should be able to move around. That's the whole purpose of the telecommuting deal. So just saying that this is the only place you can ever do that.
Jail.
Yeah, that's not, I think that's something that has to be changed.
Okay, anything else?
And if y'all want to have great debates over those things, then it would be nice sometimes if we can be included in those great debates. I'm just saying, because without hearing, y'all have obviously said y'all spent a lot of time discussing this. Sometimes it would be nice if we could be a part of that discussion, because that might change where we end up falling, and only hearing the recommendation sometimes is not as, you know.
The criminal district attorney is saying, me too.
I just have a question. Not from a legal standpoint, not as your lawyer, as a department. So I read on page 2 that halfway down, no department is obligated to offer telecommuting. And then I see under page 1 of policy guidelines, telecommuting may be offered or approved in limited circumstances, but it doesn't say by whom. But Ange just told us that that would be by HR. So I'm taking that would be limited to just those departments that are. Is that correct?
The application will have an application eventually that will cycle through the department. The department must approve it, and then it will get sent to either HR or the county administrator's office. What we're going to see is how many responses we get initially if the policy is approved, and then.
Responses you get from department heads or from employees? Because according to this, I can do my own policy for my department, right? Because we can't telecommute and get to court. So,
right.
I just
The
it
department-
needs from as a department head purpose. You know, it says telecommuting will be reviewed annually. That's by HR. The county reserves the right to deny.
I think you're misunderstanding. We've tried to empower the department heads and the elected officials to manage their own departments. So as far as the approval of telecommuting, you know, it has to be approved by the department head or the elected official before anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all the applications though go not to the department head, but to a new department within HR.
They have to
No.
come through
No.
you.
Yeah.
No, well, if that's what it says, then it needs to be changed, and that's the reason I'm saying that we need to have that discussion, if it needs to go forward in that. I think the court, and I'm sure you'll stop me when I say something you don't agree with, that it's totally up to the department heads and the elected officials to determine whether they want to allow this policy to be in their department.
That's correct.
End
That's
of
correct.
statement. If there's an
Absolutely.
application filled out, it will be after the department head has said, we're for it. And I would expect that the only role HR is going to play in it is to know, okay, you said this employee can be a telecommuter. It's not that they're going to okay it, approve it, or do anything else with it.
And
It's just that they're going to
Keep track of.
keep track of the fact of who we have that's telecommuting. So, I mean, I think that's, you know, again, it's going to go down. And, you know, I hear what you say, and you may have decided, no, I'm not going to have telecommuting. But if someone in your place could say, okay, I know what days I'm going to be in trial, but I'm going to do all of the work I can do with investigators or whatever from home, maybe it won't work, maybe it will, maybe it won't in a civil case, or maybe you wouldn't be in civil cases, so it'd be, so it could work. But again, if you say, no, I don't want that to happen in my department, it ain't going to happen in your department. And I think
Absolutely.
the key is don't, anything in here that implies that anybody but the department head or elected official has sole discretion as to whether it's going to happen in their department needs to be cleared up. And the same thing with, on an annual review, any of that is always department head or elected official.
We simply need to know who
is, and who isn't.
Who is.
By position, and that's what you're saying.
And
It's a position, not an
because-
employee.
Because one of the things what we wanted to curb is any type of abuse of this also. And you can imagine there may be some departments, maybe some elected officials that may just say, I want you to take the next week and work from home. And it has to be more than just that.
Okay. I think, but see, that may be why we need to have, and we probably, in the meantime, what I might suggest is that we send the draft policy to department heads and to elected officials and ask for their input, or if they see something in there that is of a mind that it might, that they might want to comment on. Let's do that. Okay.
Move for adjournment.
Well, so do we have anything else you'd like to talk about tonight?
No, sir.
We're adjourned.